Hello again, welcome to the show. We have one surviving panel member this week, and that is Gary Megson. No doubt by the time you're watching this, you'll be thinking, what was all the fuss about? But Gary and I have ploughed through about 5 or 6 inches of snow to get down here for this show today. And we've got loads, we've got a blizzard of matches to look through and assess. And lots of incidents. Do you know what really caught my eye over the weekend? Well, I'll ask you what caught your eye first as a general thing, and then I'll raise a point or two.
I think over the weekend, obviously City's result at Everton was a fantastic result. Liverpool's the same at Crystal Palace. I thought that was a great result, and also Tottenham coming back and laying a little bit of a hoodoo that they don't do so well at Stamford Bridge. Coming back and winning that game again was a big plus for them.
Yeah, and the Liverpool game we'll come to because it raised a major talking point over the weekend when we talk about diving, as we do most weeks here. We'd rather not do. But I'll tell you what really caught my eye as a hero for the weekend, maybe an unsung one because his game was as middle of the road and mid-table as you could get. Jermain Defoe with that stoppage time equaliser right at the end for Bournemouth, the 2-2 draw at Watford. I hadn't realised this, but he's scored more goals in the 90th minute or later than anybody else. 15 now in the Premier League. A man with some quality, and he scores important goals as well.
He does, and right the way through his career, he's been a terrific finisher, for all the clubs that he's played for. But I think he's also in the last few years, I think he's come to the fore as a person as well. I don't mean he wasn't previously. But with the young lad who passed away at Sunderland, Bradley, and the way that he handled that, was fantastic for him as a person, not just a footballer. The fact that he went up to Sunderland from being a London lad, I thought was give great kudos to him as well, and he was the one shining light for them in what was a horrendous season. He's gone down to Bournemouth, and it could be looked upon as just have a bit of a poodle about. He plays as a sub most of the time, but it's he's a great sub to have because if he's in the right position, more often than not, if he gets an opportunity, he'll score. So he's having a great swan song towards the end of his career.
And a tribute in that particular match as well to referee Andy Madley. This was his long-awaited Premier League debut. Various panellists here on the show have been pushing for this for some time, and he's been performing excellently in the Championship as one of the younger referees around, and all the experts tell me that he had a really good game, and there was also a great call for which he was assisted by the assistant referee, as he should be, for the Bournemouth penalty equaliser at 1-1, a ridiculous decision by a player to handle it, but it was difficult actually to spot.
It was, but sometimes when you see those things, and from a referee's point of view, you say it's difficult to spot. Sometimes from a football point of view, you just think, what's going through somebody's mind?
You wouldn't
actually
expect that, would you?
No, the last thing you do is handle it. You do whatever it takes.
You're not going to concede a goal.
But it's. I don't know. Sometimes it's just got to be an aberration, hasn't it? That just goes through somebody's head. Well, I don't think it actually does go through somebody's head. I think they just do it as a reaction. It's
absolutely.
Really
they won't be able to explain it later either. But the assistant had the best view, and between them, they got that right. And it was a historic weekend because the two Madley brothers. Not only Andy Madley in the Premier League for the first time, but his more experienced brother Bobby refereed a Premier League game as well. And he had no cautions whatsoever, no red cards, no nothing. And that was in Manchester United 2, Swansea 0. Romelu Lukaku's 100th Premier League goal in that game.
And he's he's had a terrific career in this country, and he's really is a handful. And then you look at him, and you think there's still a lot more to come.
He's only 24, I think.
Yeah, and he seems to get a lot of criticism that he doesn't work hard enough, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. But like you just said, 100 goals and he's only 24. He's doing really well.
So there's a lot, isn't it? Something unusual in that game. The managers did a joint press conference following it. And they're old pals. And this proves it. You were talking to me before the show about there's so many people who say that they're best friends with Jose Mourinho. They can't all be right. But in this case, Jose Mourinho and the Swansea manager Carlos Carvalho clearly are.
Yeah, I think
big buddies.
Yeah, sometimes it tends to go around. It becomes fashionable. Portuguese coaches now, seem to get jobs because the Portuguese coaches, and a lot of them, I'm a friend of Mourinho's. So there seems, being somebody's friend.
Yeah. Well, if you could get, this is the ref show. If you can get a reference or a referee, as like Jose Mourinho, it goes some way.
Yeah, it certainly does. Yeah, but it's getting back to doing a press conference while you're both there. It has to be a certain type of game. You can't. You try doing that every week when there's there's a penalty decision in the last minute that's cost somebody big style.
Kind of a blazing round.
It's not going to happen, no.
No. A bit of a moan from Jurgen Klopp. Not for the first time. He's a great character. Jury seems to be out. Some people. There's a love-hate thing about Jurgen Klopp. I kind of think he's good for the game. I like the way his team plays, don't you? Liverpool, and you alluded to their great win at Crystal Palace.
Yeah, I like the way the team plays. They've got some terrific players, and you just look at them and you think they're not far off now from really challenging. It's just that I just look at the and it's not particularly nice, but the back four and the goalkeeper's not over the course of a season doesn't look strong enough to be able to challenge for for actually winning it. But they're not very far off. Going the other way, they're fantastic. But again, you're talking about Jurgen, and you're saying you like him.
Yeah,
I like him. He's got great character, passion. He's up and down that touchline. He's a bit like a British manager.
Yeah. Yeah,
we get criticised.
You get criticised for that. Yeah. Well, he's natural, isn't he?
That's the thing is, obviously it gets up my hooter a little bit when you look at foreign coaches and the ones who are popular and they're going, oh, like Conte, he's up and down and really got a load of passion. We like Klopp. British managers, head case, losing it, all that stuff. You deem to be different.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But I mentioned Klopp moaning, as he's wont to do on occasions. Now, this was an incident that didn't ultimately affect the result. Liverpool came from behind to win. Sadio Mane, cautioned for diving. Andy Hogg on You Are the Ref Cam supported that decision. Klopp said, no, it was a penalty, there was contact. But contact doesn't entitle a player to decide to dive, does it? How did you read that?
No, I think it's it's a really fine dividing line, and everybody quite rightly is getting a downer on people diving because, you can get to look at it a dozen different ways, and sometimes it looks like a dive, other times it doesn't. But when you actually play football, and lots of people, and it doesn't matter what level you're playing, you've got to sometimes when you're running with the ball and you see somebody coming towards you. There's Forestieri, I think it was last season against Hull.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah, was it 2 years
Dawson.
ago? Yeah, Dawson went, and you see a foot coming to you, 18 inches off the ground, and that's going to really cause you problems if it hits you. You've either got to be really, really brave or really stupid not to get out of the way of that.
And that was totally misread by the referee.
And it was poor that. And sometimes when you're playing and that's happening, I can understand it, but when it comes from the side and you throw yourself off and you're trying to pull the wool over the referee's eyes, it's not good.
Is it possible that it can be a penalty, yes, and a dive, yes, at the same time?
It can, but
people are arguing that.
But it's when it's there's just no contact at all and somebody dives. I think that's entirely different.
There was contact, but he's still on the ball.
Yeah,
he chose. Do I want to be still on the ball, or do I want to try and get a penalty? So he threw himself down to try and get a penalty.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't get one. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, but you have to accept as a manager and as a club, as a supporter, whatever it is, if you're going to be quite happy when it goes for you. You also can't start hooting when it doesn't. You either do it one way or you do it. I think the one that really gets up everybody's nose is when there's absolutely no contact and somebody goes into that box looking for it. That's the one that we need to try and stamp out.
Well, also a controversy involving Mane later. He could have ended up with a second yellow card because he's picking the ball up expecting that he's going to get a free kick. Now, Mark Halsey, the esteemed Mark Halsey, felt that he was lucky to get away with that and that it should have been a second yellow.
He should have got sent off. But again, it's we used to have a player when I was a manager of Bolton. He used to do it, Jufi, El Hadji Diouf. he used to
among
award
other things.
Yeah, he used to award himself free kicks. Like, he'd go down and he'd grab the ball, and it puts the referee in a bit of an invidious position because, you know, if he's not going to give that free kick, he's now got to give one for the actual handball.
Yeah.
And I think the same happened with Marnie. He thought it was a free kick, and he awarded himself that free kick. The referee didn't.
No.
So the actual, you know, thing that was, you know, above the law was, you know, him handling the ball. It was a little bit daft, but technically he should have got
his own hands.
That's the word.
Literally. Neil Swarbrick was the referee there, and you know, those are sort of two tricky incidents for him. Slick City yet again. Paul Tierney, by the way, was in charge and got big marks for his performance. Another up-and-coming referee in Everton 1, Manchester City 3. Beat Man United next week to win the title, which is not what you expected, is it?
No, I don't. I think he's got, as daft as it seems, he can win the Premiership, play in Manchester United, local derby, and I don't think he'll play his strongest team because he's got a bigger game a few days later, and he can win the league at any point in the games that are coming up from that.
This is where the manager might take a different view to the supporters, who are going to just be focused.
Well, the
on
supporters will just want the league winning
and to beat
Manchester United, like, because that, you know, it's a huge rivalry. But from a football manager's point of view, especially one who's not actually from Manchester, he'll be looking at the Liverpool game as much as the derby game.
Game was over very early, and the football was just sublime, wasn't it?
They've taken it to a different level. They're doing things when you watch it. When I was at West Brom, we played them twice, pretty close. Once in the cup and then once in the league. And what they're doing is, you know, taking it to a different level. But you'd certainly need the players to be able to do it because they take a huge chance. But what they've got is they know that near enough everybody in that team, or not near enough everybody is comfortable on the ball and won't give it away. So they can push 5 people up into the front. They can spread it right across the pitch. Yeah. You do that with players who aren't capable of doing it, and you're wide open.
No. Plenty to discuss in the Championship later, by the way, but just to breeze through the rest of the Premier League, 8 straight defeats for your old team, West Brom now, losing 2-1 at home to Burnley. Burnley winning despite an early penalty claim denied. I mean, grappling times several. The shirt was nearly off from a corner. You know, you've expressed your views on West Brom before. It's an irreversible slide, obviously. Lee Probert was in charge of that. John Moss presided over West Ham's very easy 3-0 victory over Southampton. A sorry Saints at the moment.
It is. It's, you know, they've got to get out of that very, very quickly, like, you know, because they're just like sliding, and their other teams are losing and they are getting beat, and you know, but if there is such a phrase as being beaten the right way, Swansea probably got that at the weekend. But Southampton, like, you know, you want to win it. If you can't win it, you want to get something from it. If you can't, you've got to be seen to be doing the right things, and they just gave themselves no chance. Big
job there for Mark Hughes. Huddersfield are slipping. You know, they started the season well, losing 1-0 at Newcastle.
They always seem to. Everybody seems to be, you know, focus on Huddersfield and think, oh, they're slipping into it, and then they always seem to get a result against somebody that just takes them out of it and just you know, keeps the head above water. So
can't score, can they? That's a problem.
No, it's but at this stage of the season, you know, they've got to make sure that they stay really tight at the back, and you know, they tend to do that with the possession that they get. Martin
Atkinson with a good performance by all accounts in that game. Chris Kavanagh was in charge of the game, which has left Brighton with a bit of work to do, losing 2-0 to Leicester. And Ndidi, but
you know that you're talking here about the games and that, which is fine. And on nearly enough every occasion now, you've said the name of the referee and the fact he's done well. And there's a World Cup coming up in a few months' time.
Sure.
And we ain't got a referee at it, and it just seems, I don't know why. It just seems political to me. We've got, you know, when you play in Europe and when you go abroad and watch games and you see, we criticise our referees, or they do get criticism. I think we've got the best referees in the world, and why we haven't got one there is, you know, I think it's scandalous, to be honest. Yeah, well, people are more learned on that subject than me, so that, you know, Howard Webb went early, Mark Clattenburg went early, not managed to
replaced those referees, and there's not been a pathway. We've not pushed referees through quickly enough. That's what they say. So, but anyway, you produced the counter argument there. And
I think we've got good referees,
yeah.
and our football over here is different to a lot of football on the continent and the rest of the world. There's a lot more contact here, and it's a lot faster here. And I think, therefore, it's a lot harder to referee our games. And I think we've got some seriously good referees compared to what you see elsewhere.
Yeah.
And for the life of me, I can't see why we haven't got a referee at the World Cup. I think
it's not
really
an assistant
poor
referee or an official from the British Isles at the World Cup. Right. Yeah. And Ndidi was sent off in that Leicester game. 2 yellows. I think partly it was his histrionic descent over the challenge that got him the second yellow card. I'm not sure if it was the challenge, because there wasn't really a foul there. It was more the dissent to the referee's decision. So 2 yellows. Just breezing through the Sunday games, Andre Mariner, another in-form referee. It was marked highly by Mark Halsey, who was blogging that game. Chelsea won, Spurs 3. 2 goals from Dele Alli there. We're talking about him for the right reasons.
It was a great result for Tottenham, because it's like, it didn't look like it was going like that, and then they just got it by the scruff of the neck. But Tottenham are another team that have got those players, and I took the team West Brom against Tottenham, and it's difficult for you because they start with one up front who's probably the best centre forward in the world. They start with him up front, but then they're throwing Dele Alli up there, Eriksen's up there, Son's up there, and so they end up with about 5 or 6 players up front when they've got the ball, and they've just got that quality. And one of the things that happens is with those having that many players there, you've got to send defenders back with them, which is an obvious statement. So it just looks as if you're playing defensively when, in fact, you're reacting to what Tottenham do, and they're terrific at it. Yeah,
came from behind as well, didn't they, in that game? And Arsenal finally getting 3 against Stoke, 3-0 late goals, 2 penalties. The first contentious. Was it a foul or not? Paul Lambert wasn't happy. It was Craig Pawson was in charge of that game.
Those things, like, you tend to focus on that, and they've done all right for 75 minutes. And it's a bit of a kick in the teeth when, if somebody like, Ozil or somebody like that, spanks it in from 20 yards, or it's a wonder goal as regards the team. But, a contentious penalty, and then as soon as you score that first goal, it's near enough it, but the first goal is so important at any level.
We're going to discuss a big pal of yours in a minute as we talk about the Championship and a team that's had 8 wins in a row. But before we do that, Brentford, he knows who it is as well.
Working it out then.
Before we do that, Brentford won, Sheffield United won. Remarkable for a double sending off here. Jamal Blackman, the United goalkeeper, and Ryan Woods, the Brentford player. Kind of something that you see in games where a team scored, Brentford has scored, they want to get the ball quickly. The United goalkeeper's hanging on to it to sort of get a bit of... And isn't the word handbags invented for this sort of incident?
Well, you said there that you see every now and again, or whatever it was. You don't. You see it on a school playground.
Yes.
But the thing was, it's like, it's going to be a problem to United. I don't want to be rude to anybody here, but losing your goalkeeper for however many games it turns out to be is going to be a bigger problem than Brentford losing one of their outfield players. But it was something and nothing.
Absolutely.
What is it? The lad's about 5'6", and he's trying to get it off a goalkeeper who's 6'5" or something.
There was nothing really, by the way. I mean, by the book, I suppose he could justify a red card for Blackman. I'm not sure about Woods. But the thing is, does the punishment fit the crime? They've now got to miss 3 matches each because it comes under serious foul play.
It's ridiculous. But the thing is, if the goalkeeper was doing it to stop them getting on with the game, all they had to do was give the ball back. And then somebody else can take the time if that's what you want to do. But I think it became more than that. It became a little bit of bloody-mindedness that one wanted the ball, the other one wanted the ball, and it was... it's something nothing, but
pathetic
it's ridiculous.
All round, really. Jeremy Simpson was the referee there.
Yeah, but United themselves, we were talking about it earlier. I think if United are going to be able to do it, and I think they can, if Leon Clark gets back to being what he was before he signed his contract. His career seems to have followed that pattern. I think sometimes he looks as if he gets a little bit comfortable and then he's just poodling about. But when he gets the bit between his teeth, he's a real handful, big, strong, and he can run and he can get goals. And United, or no, more so Leon, have got to find a way of getting that Leon Clark on the pitch, because if they do, I think they've got a good chance.
Okay, we'll come to Cardiff City. Before that, just wrap up. Hull 0, Aston Villa 0. A big game that kind of fell flat. Low-key return for Steve Bruce to the KCOM Stadium. Nigel Adkins not happy that Andy Davis failed to award a penalty for a handball claim in that game. And Stuart Atwell was in charge of Middlesbrough 1, Wolves 2. Wolves flying, even though down to 9 men, with Ruben Neves and Matt Doherty both sent off for 2 yellows.
It's not, when you go down to 9 men, I've done it, obviously not by design, but I've done it myself. But when you've got a lead, it's a lot easier then to get a result when you've got that lead. But if you need to score or get something with 9 men, you can forget it then.
Cardiff City 3, Burton 1. Simon Hooper, the latest referee to preside over Neil Warnock's fantastic winning run. It's 8 in a row now. It matches his best ever sequence as a manager. And a win at Sheffield United, you may know the result by the time you watch this, because we're doing this on a Monday morning. A win would also equal a 71-year-old Cardiff record going back to 1947. Predictably, Neil Warnock still felt the referee had a nightmare. To quote him, Nigel Clough was unhappy about a couple of the Cardiff goals, one over a handball claim and one for offside. But nevertheless, Cardiff are on a fantastic run, as is the manager. It could be a career record. 8 wins in a row, heading, it would seem, for his 8th career promotion.
Yeah, well, you know my thoughts. We don't get on as people, but as a person and as a manager, it's entirely different. He's a good manager. He knows his stuff. He knows what wins football matches. He knows what doesn't win football matches, and I think he's pragmatic. Whereas there's quite a few managers, certainly in the Championship, who are doing it more for show rather than get them results, and it's hard to play against. And he's got some good players there. They're all working hard and they're on a roll, but it's no surprise to anybody to see them up there. I'm sure.
What's his secret as a manager?
He's pragmatic. He just he's got a way of playing. He's got a way of behaving as he does as a manager. Some of us would rail against that, and have done in the past, and that's why we don't get on. But when you look at the way that he plays, it's hard to play against. They get it right in both boxes. And when you've got big players, and there's nothing wrong with it. This isn't a criticism. When you've got big, strong players who are also working hard and are good players, then I would imagine, I don't know because I don't know the stats, but I would imagine that they never very high in terms of the possession in each game. But it's not, everybody seems to focus on, it's all about possession. And when you've got Barcelona type players, Real Madrid type players, that is the way to play. When you haven't, you've still got to find a way to win. And Cardiff and my teams have done it in the past. You get it forward. If you get it, you play from there. If you don't, you close down and then you play from there. And that's what Cardiff do, and they do it better than anybody else.
Man management too seems to press the right button and gets the best out of players. Well,
he's signed some good players, and signed some players who, at first glance, it's that they wouldn't be a sexy type, but Bryson, what Derby are doing letting him go. Oh. And he goes to Cardiff.
Yeah, what a good player at Derby.
He is, but he's got quite a few of those. So, when you see the actual team itself, he's got them together. You get that momentum, and the whole thing just seems to have gone really well. For the chairman got a little bit of stick for all that he did in the past, and then they go and bring somebody in who's 73 now. I think he is he? But he's, he knows what he's doing, and but it's not
he's
a criticism again.
No.
Isn't he?
No. You finally got to
then, whatever he is.
69, I think.
Is he?
Yeah. Coming up 70.
I wasn't being rude, but what I was trying to say is, he's the chairman of Cardiff has tried all these, young up and coming, this is the way forward. It don't work. They bring him in and it does work.
I'm sure the next time I get an opportunity to talk to Neil, he'll be equally complimentary about
well,
you.
See him in 4 years. He's 73 then.
Okay, we move on finally to Sheffield Wednesday 4, Preston 1. I'm sure you'd have been delighted to see that. Tim Robinson, the referee, didn't seem overly in control of that game during the first half, but it wasn't the talking point, because the big talking point there. Well, by the way, Sam Hutchinson cautioned after 27 seconds. Okay, the game's not going to change. He's got to change. Yeah.
Well, I don't. Sometimes don't go. It goes through players' heads. Like, you know, I played in a game once. I think it was 6 seconds. Vinnie Jones.
6 seconds.
It goes with the animal. It goes with the person. Like, and you know, you just know what's coming. We got the kick off, rolled it back to Reedy. Vinny's hurtling up the pitch. I don't think he really caught Reedy. Reedy's laid it off up. He goes, and I think it was 6 seconds. So you know, Sam's got to go some way to get to that kind of standard. But he just needs to calm himself down a little bit because they need him on the pitch.
But two things to talk about: Fernando Forestieri in a minute, but Ati Nuhu, this unheralded striker who can look lumbering. To quote the TalkSport presenter Adrian Durham, I fully agree. During the programme on Saturday, referred to him. He thought he was a lumbering striker. About 5 minutes later, I'm on air live reporting one of the finest goals I've ever seen on that ground. I don't know if you concur with that. Atinuhu's second. He received the ball near the corner flag.
Yeah, it's a great goal, and it's like, you know, the way that the game's panned out. It's a great result for him. But he's, you know, I think it's like I used to play with Niall Quinn, and Quinn is like a really intelligent guy, and he says he'll always have his critics. He's 6'5". He doesn't look great, but he gets the job done, and I think Nuhu does exactly the same thing. He's hard to play against. But
plenty of clubs would have him. Wednesday will have a contract offer on the table for him. They won't be alone, I don't think.
No, he's turned it round. But even when they were doing well under Carlos, they'd be playing and playing and playing. If it weren't working, they'd sling him on, and then it's you know, it's entirely different.
It's an option. And Forestieri, he's been out most of the season, but came back, looked really, really sharp. Scored a goal from a free kick.
Well, I think you would know. I think he's the best player in the Championship. Seems to have baggage from where I don't know, but I think if he can settle down, then he'll be you know, he'll be a massive asset for Wednesday. I don't mean fitness wise, but you know what he's done in the past, like, you know, getting the ump because he wanted to leave Wednesday. It's those things stick in the throat a little bit. But in terms of talent and his work rate and the way that he plays, he completely changes Wednesday.
He's regarded as a maverick, but you just pointed out there, the one thing that apart from his obvious ability, you can't fault how hard he works for the team.
He works hard,
he's
100%.
But,
you know, it's not right to be like, you know, maverick. It's a team game, and he's playing for a fantastic football club. And you know, I used to watch him when he was at Watford when I was watching games, and I think like he's really talented, but they're not playing him. After a while, they didn't play him. So there's obviously something in his makeup that clubs, you know, aren't having. And he gets the opportunity to play for an even bigger club, and he's got everything at his feet there. And if he can just knuckle down, and I'm sure he can, and just play how he plays, you know, he's a massive asset for Wednesday.
If you were a Premier League manager, you'd want to sign him, would you?
Yeah.
You would?
I would, yeah.
Well, let's hope he stays in the Championship and produces.
Well, he could take Wednesday there, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Gary, thanks very much indeed.
Pleasure.
It's been great to kick around all the weekend's football. Hope you've enjoyed it, and do join us for another show next week. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.